The snow fell heavily on Pittsburgh that Friday evening, each flake adding to the thick blanket that had covered the city since morning. The old steel city wore its winter coat with the same dignity it had worn rust and recession enduring as it always had. From the 35th floor of Titan Industries, Catherine Titan could see the bridges spanning the three rivers, their lights blurred by the falling snow into soft halos of gold and white. But Catherine saw none of it. Her eyes were fixed on the computer screen before her where red numbers cascaded like blood from a wound. $10 billion. In less than 10 minutes, $10 billion had vanished from Titan Industries' accounts. The merger with Yamamoto Corporation, scheduled for signing tomorrow morning at 8, was now impossible. Without those funds as collateral, the Japanese would walk away, and Titan Industries would face bankruptcy within a month. Her hands trembled as she clicked through screen after screen, each revealing more damage. Customer databases corrupted, financial records scrambled, patent files encrypted and held hostage. 15 years of building this company from a small consulting firm to a technology empire, and now it was crumbling in real time before her eyes. The office was silent except for the hum of computers and the distant whistle of wind against the windows. Catherine had sent everyone home hours ago, even Margaret Stone, her CFO and closest friend. She couldn't bear to see the fear in their eyes, couldn't stomach their questions when she had no answers. Now alone in her corner office with its mahogany desk and leather chairs, its awards and accolades lining the walls, Catherine Titan felt the weight of complete and utter failure. She picked up her phone, then set it down. Who could she call? The FBI would take weeks to investigate. Her tech team had already tried everything they knew. The board of directors would demand her resignation in the morning when news broke. There was no one who could help her now. Catherine closed her eyes and thought of her mother. Eleanor Titan had died 3 years ago in a small hospital room in Scranton, while Catherine was in Singapore signing a contract worth $100 million. The nurses said her mother had asked for her at the end, had whispered her name with her last breath. But Catherine had chosen the deal over the deathbed, had chosen success over goodbye. And for what? To watch it all disappear on a snowy Friday night. A sound in the hallway made her look up. The soft squeak of wheels on marble floor, the gentle splash of water in a bucket. Someone was still here, still working, while her empire collapsed. She watched through the glass door as a man in a navy blue janitor uniform pushed his cart past her office earbuds, in his ears completely absorbed in his work. For a moment, Catherine felt a flash of irrational anger. How dare he be so calm, so unaffected while her world ended? Then the anger faded to something else, something she couldn't quite name. When was the last time she had really looked at the people who cleaned her office, who maintained the building that bore her name? When had she ever asked their names, their stories? The janitor must have sensed her watching because he looked up and their eyes met through the glass. He was perhaps 45 with brown hair going gray at the temples and tired but kind eyes. He pulled out one earbud and raised his eyebrows in question, clearly surprised to see anyone still here, especially the CEO. Catherine found herself waving him in, though she couldn't say why. Maybe she just didn't want to be alone with her failure. Maybe she wanted one last moment of normal human interaction before tomorrow when everything would change. The janitor knocked gently and pushed open the door. "Evening, Mrs. Titan. I didn't expect to see you here so late. Is everything all right?" His voice carried the trace of working-class Pittsburgh, the accent of steelworkers and bridge builders. It was oddly comforting, real in a way that the polished voices of her executives never were. Catherine laughed, but it came out bitter and broken. "No, everything is not all right. Everything is about as far from all right as it could possibly be." The janitor, whose name tag read Jack Sullivan, set down his mop and stepped closer. His eyes flicked to her screen, taking in the error messages, the red alerts, the signs of digital catastrophe. "Computer trouble?" he asked, and something in the way he said it casual, but knowing made Catherine look at him more carefully. "You could say that," she replied. "Someone has destroyed my company. $10 billion gone. 15 years of work destroyed. And I have no idea how to stop it, or who did it, or why." Jack Sullivan was quiet for a moment, studying the screen. In his earbuds, which hung loose around his neck, Catherine could hear the faint sound of someone talking about network protocols and system vulnerabilities. a podcast about technology. Why would a janitor be listening to that? Mind if I take a closer look? Jack asked. Catherine almost laughed again. What could a janitor possibly know about cyber attacks? But something in his eyes, a quiet confidence, a depth of understanding made her step aside. Be my guest. It can't get any worse. Jack sat down in her chair, his work-roughened hands settling on the keyboard with surprising familiarity. He pulled up a command prompt, and his fingers began to move with the practiced ease of someone who had done this thousands of times before. Lines of code scrolled across the screen, and Catherine watched in growing amazement as this janitor, this invisible man who cleaned her offices, began to work magic she didn't understand. SQL injection, Jack said quietly, more to himself than to her. But sophisticated. They're using a polymorphic variant to avoid detection. Clever, but they made one mistake. They didn't account for the legacy system still running in parallel. His fingers flew across the keyboard, windows opening and closing, data streams reversing. Catherine found herself leaning closer, mesmerized. How do you know this? Who are you? Jack didn't look up from the screen. I'm exactly who you think I am, Mrs. Titan. I'm your janitor. I've been cleaning these offices for 2 years, but I wasn't always a janitor. He pulled up another window, cross-referencing IP addresses, tracing packet routes. I used to design security systems for Fortune 500 companies. Had a nice office, probably not as nice as yours, but nice enough. Good salary, respect the whole package. What happened? Catherine asked softly. Life happened, Jack replied, his fingers never stopping their dance across the keys. My wife Mary got sick. Cancer. Started in her lungs, spread everywhere. The insurance covered some of it, but not the experimental treatments, not the specialists, not the 3 years of fighting a losing battle. I left my job to take care of her, spent every penny we had saved, sold everything we owned. And in the end, it wasn't enough. She died anyway. He paused for just a moment, and Catherine saw his jaw clench. Then he continued working. After she was gone, I tried to get back into tech, but 3 years is a lifetime in that world. My skills were considered obsolete. My references had moved on. No one wanted to hire a middle-aged engineer who'd been out of the game. But Titan Industries needed janitors, and janitors don't need updated certifications. They just need to show up and work hard. So that's what I've done. Show up, work hard, go home to my daughter. You have a daughter, Emma. She's 7. Looks just like her mother, thank God. Smart as a whip too, though she doesn't get that from me. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. She's with Tom Bradley's wife tonight. Tom's the night security guard, good man, Marine veteran. His wife watches Emma when I work late. Catherine felt something shift in her chest, a loosening of the armor she'd worn for so long. This man had lost everything, had fallen from professional success to manual labor, and yet he spoke of it without bitterness, only quiet acceptance. There, Jack said, suddenly leaning back. I've isolated the intrusion. It's a backdoor Trojan, but it's not coming from outside. Someone inside your company is doing this, Mrs. Titan. Someone with high-level access. Catherine's blood went cold. That's impossible. I trust everyone on my executive team. Jack turned the screen toward her, showing the access logs. One name appeared repeatedly, M. Stone. Margaret Stone. No, Catherine whispered. Margaret would never. She's been with me for 15 years. She's my best friend. Jack studied the logs more carefully, his brow furrowing. Wait, something's not right here. These access times. Margaret Stone's badge was used, but look at this. He pulled up another window. The company's travel system shows she's been in Hawaii for the past 3 days. Her corporate credit card has charges from Maui hotels and restaurants with timestamps that match. Someone cloned her credentials. Relief flooded through Catherine, followed immediately by renewed fear. Then who? Someone who had physical access to her office, her computer, her badge. Jack's fingers moved again, pulling up security footage from the past week. Someone who knew her passwords, her habits, her... He stopped staring at the screen. What is it? Jack zoomed in on a frame from 3 days ago late at night. A figure in a janitor's uniform was leaving Margaret's office. But it wasn't Jack, and it wasn't any of the regular cleaning crew Catherine vaguely recognized. Miguel Santos. Jack read from the work schedule. Started a month ago, night shift. But here's the thing, Mrs. Titan. I know every janitor in this building. We talk, we share break rooms, we cover each other's shifts. I've never seen this man before. Before Catherine could respond, the lights flickered. Then they went out completely. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing the office in an eerie red glow. The computer screens went black. He knows we're on to him, Jack said, standing quickly. He's here in the building trying to cover his tracks. Catherine's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stop now or the girl pays. Jack saw the message and his face went white. He grabbed his own phone, an old model held together with tape, and dialed quickly. Mrs. Bradley, it's Jack. Is Emma okay? Lock the doors. Don't let anyone in except me or Tom. Anyone. I'll explain later. He turned to Catherine and she saw something in his eyes she recognized. The look of a parent whose child was threatened. The look of someone with everything to lose. Mrs. Titan, I need you to listen to me very carefully. This isn't just about money or corporate espionage. Someone is targeting both of us, and they're willing to hurt a 7-year-old girl to get what they want. I can stop them, but I need your complete trust. Can you give me that? Catherine didn't hesitate. This man, this janitor she had walked past 100 times without seeing, was the only person who had offered her hope in the darkest hour of her life. What do you need? First, we need to get to the server room in the basement. The backup generators will keep those systems running for another hour. If I can access the core systems directly, I can trace this Miguel Santos, find out who he really is and who sent him. But we'll have to go through the dark building, and he could be anywhere. Catherine kicked off her high heels and grabbed a flashlight from her emergency kit. Then we'd better get moving. As they left the office, Jack grabbed his mop handle, testing its weight. You know, Mrs. Titan, I've been invisible in this building for 2 years. I know every hallway, every stairwell, every place someone could hide. Being invisible has its advantages. They moved through the darkened hallways, their flashlights creating dancing shadows on the walls. The building felt different in the dark, transformed from a temple of commerce into something more primitive, more dangerous. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. Tell me about Emma, Catherine whispered as they descended the stairs. She needed something to focus on, besides the fear crawling up her spine. She's everything, Jack said simply. She loves to draw, loves science, wants to be an astronaut or an artist she hasn't decided. Every morning she makes me promise to have a good day, and every evening she asks if I helped anyone. I used to tell her about the code I wrote, the systems I protected. Now I tell her about the offices I cleaned, the trash I emptied. And you know what? She's just as proud of me. Says I'm keeping people's workspaces clean so they can do important things. They reached the 20th floor when they heard footsteps above them moving fast. Jack held up a hand, listening. He's heading down. We need to move faster. They picked up their pace, Catherine's stockinged feet silent on the stairs. By the 10th floor, her legs were burning, but she didn't slow down. The footsteps above were getting closer. Here, Jack said suddenly, pulling her into a maintenance closet. They pressed against the wall, breathing hard as the footsteps passed by their floor and continued down. He's heading to the basement too, Catherine whispered. He knows that's where we need to go. Jack nodded grimly. Then we'll have to be smarter than him. There's another way down through the old freight elevator shaft. It's been out of service for years, but there's a maintenance ladder. Can you climb? Catherine thought of her personal trainer, the hours spent on carefully designed exercise routines. None of it had prepared her for climbing down a ladder in the dark, while being hunted by a cyber terrorist. I'll manage. They slipped out of the closet and made their way to the freight elevator. Jack pried open the doors, revealing a dark shaft that seemed to go down forever. The ladder was rusty but solid, bolted to the concrete wall. I'll go first, Jack said. Test each rung before you put your weight on it. It's 25 floors to the basement. They began their descent into darkness. The shaft was cold and smelled of machine oil and rust. Catherine's hands quickly became raw from gripping the rough metal rungs. Above them, something clanged and she nearly lost her grip. Just the building settling, Jack said from below, but his voice was tense. Halfway down, Catherine's phone buzzed again. She couldn't look at it, couldn't risk letting go of the ladder. But Jack heard it too. What does it say? He asked. Catherine carefully pulled out her phone, holding it where she could see while maintaining her grip. It's from Margaret. She says, don't trust David Kim. He's been accessing files he shouldn't. Tried to call, but phones are down. David Kim, Jack repeated. The CTO. Young guy, brilliant MIT graduate. I hired him myself 2 years ago. Catherine's mind raced. He would have access to everything, would know all our systems. They finally reached the bottom of the shaft. Jack helped Catherine onto solid ground, and she realized she was shaking from cold or adrenaline, or both. The basement was a maze of pipes and electrical conduits, lit only by the green glow of exit signs. The server room was at the far end behind a heavy security door that required a key card and biometric scan. My card should still work, Catherine said, reaching for her wallet. But as they approached the door, they saw it was already open, propped with a piece of wood. Jack picked up a length of pipe from the floor, hefting it like a weapon. Stay behind me. They entered the server room, and the sudden blast of cold from the air conditioning made Catherine shiver. The servers hummed in their racks, lights blinking in patterns that seemed almost organic. At the far end of the room, illuminated by the glow of multiple monitors, someone was typing furiously at a terminal. But it wasn't Miguel Santos. It was David Kim. The young CTO looked up, his face pale in the monitor light. Mrs. Titan, Jack. Thank God you're here. Someone's trying to destroy everything. I've been trying to stop them, but they keep changing their attack vectors. Jack didn't lower the pipe. Step away from the terminal, David. What I'm trying to help. Look, I can show you the logs. Someone using Margaret's credentials has been siphoning data for weeks. I've been tracking it, trying to figure out who without alerting them. Catherine looked at Jack, unsure. David had always been loyal, brilliant, dedicated. But then again, she had thought she knew everyone in her company. Show us, Jack said finally. But keep your hands where I can see them. David pulled up screen after screen of data, explaining rapidly. See, here's where it started 3 weeks ago. Small transfers, just customer lists at first, then financial data, then source code. Tonight was supposed to be the big score, transfer everything, and wipe the servers. But something went wrong with their script. I stopped it, Jack said quietly. Upstairs before the power went out. David's eyes widened. But you're a janitor, yes. We've established that. Jack moved closer to the screen, studying the data. This pattern, I've seen it before. These aren't random hackers. This is corporate espionage. Someone wants Titan Industries destroyed, not just robbed. Apex Corporation, Catherine said suddenly. Both men turned to look at her. Richard Black, their CEO. He made an offer to buy us out 6 months ago. I refused. He said I'd regret it. We need proof, David said. I can trace the money transfers, but it'll take time. And whoever this Miguel Santos is, he's still in the building. The security system is down, but I can track his keycard. Jack's phone rang, startling them all. It was Tom Bradley, the security guard. Jack, we got a problem. There's a man here says he's Miguel Santos, says he's supposed to pick up Emma for you. I told him to get lost, but he's not leaving. He's just standing outside the house watching. Martha's scared. Jack's face hardened into something Catherine had never seen before. The mild-mannered janitor was gone, replaced by someone harder, more dangerous. Call 911, Tom. Tell them everything. I'm on my way. Wait, Catherine said. If you leave, we lose our only chance to stop this. David and I can handle the technical side, but we need you here. Jack looked torn, a father's fear warring with his desire to stop the threat. My daughter. Tom Bradley's a Marine, Catherine reminded him. He knows how to protect his family. And the police are coming. Emma's safe. But if we don't stop this now, if we don't get proof, these people will keep coming. They'll never stop. David spoke up. I've got him on the security feed. Miguel Santos is on the 15th floor heading up. He's going to your office, Mrs. Titan. Why there? Catherine asked. Jack understood immediately. Your computer has CEO override access to everything. Even with the power out, if he can get it running on battery backup, he can finish what he started. Delete everything, transfer the patents, destroy the company permanently. Catherine felt a cold fury settle over her. This man had threatened a child, had tried to destroy everything she'd built, had violated the sanctuary of her life's work. Then let's stop him. David, can you restore the data from here if he tries to delete it? Jack asked. The young CTO nodded. If you can stop him from completing the wipe, yes. I've been building a mirror backup for the past hour, hidden in a partition he won't know about. But if he finishes the deletion protocol, it's gone forever. Jack handed his phone to Catherine. Call Tom back. Make sure Emma's okay. Tell him I'm handling things here. Then he turned to David. I need you to do something for me. Turn the power back on, but only to the executive floor. Make him think the backup generators kicked in. He'll be so focused on finishing the job, he won't see us coming. Us? Catherine asked. Jack looked at her, and for the first time since this nightmare began, he smiled. You didn't think I was going to let you sit this out, did you? This is your company, Mrs. Titan. Time to fight for it. As they prepared to leave the server room, Catherine touched Jack's arm. That thing you said earlier about being invisible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I never saw you. Jack met her eyes. You're seeing me now. That's what matters. They entered the stairwell, beginning the long climb back up to the 35th floor. In the basement below, David Kim worked furiously to preserve what remained of Titan Industries' digital empire. On the streets outside, police cars were converging on Tom Bradley's house. And somewhere above them, a man calling himself Miguel Santos was about to learn that the invisible people, the ones society overlooks and forgets, are often the most dangerous when cornered. As they climbed, Catherine thought about the merger meeting tomorrow, about the board's expectations about everything she stood to lose. But somehow climbing those stairs with a janitor who had lost everything and kept going anyway, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. The real fight for Titan Industries had just begun. The climb to the 35th floor felt eternal. Each step echoed in the darkened stairwell, their flashlights creating wavering circles of light that danced across concrete walls. Catherine's legs burned from the effort, but she pushed forward, matching Jack's steady pace. 20 floors to go. 19, 18. With each floor, the weight of what they were about to face grew heavier. Tell me about Apex Corporation, Jack said quietly as they climbed. Richard Black. What kind of man is he? Catherine thought back to her last encounter with Apex's CEO. Ruthless. Started in steel like half of Pittsburgh's old money, but adapted when the industry died. He's built Apex by buying struggling companies and stripping them for parts. When he couldn't buy Titan Industries, I should have known he'd try another way. But we need proof, Jack reminded her. Corporate espionage is hard to prosecute without solid evidence. They reached the 20th floor when Jack's phone vibrated. He looked at the text from Tom Bradley, and his shoulders relaxed slightly. Police are at the house. Emma's safe. They're taking her and Martha to the station until this is over. Catherine saw the relief wash over his face and felt something tighten in her chest. When was the last time someone had worried about her that way? When had she last had someone to protect someone who mattered more than quarterly earnings and board meetings? Mrs. Titan, Jack said, and she realized she'd stopped climbing. Catherine, she said, after everything we've been through tonight, I think you can call me Catherine. He nodded, a small smile crossing his face. All right, Catherine, we should keep moving. By the 25th floor, they heard sounds from above. Footsteps, but also something else. The whir of computers booting up. David had done his part. The executive floor had power. He'll be focused on the computers, Jack whispered. But we need to be careful. We don't know if he's armed. Catherine thought of the letter opener in her desk drawer, the baseball bat she kept in her closet from the company's softball team 5 years ago. Not much against a potential weapon, but better than nothing. They reached the 35th floor. Through the small window in the stairwell door, they could see light spilling from Catherine's office at the end of the hall. The rest of the floor remained dark, creating a perfect corridor of shadows. Jack put his hand on the door handle, then paused. Catherine, whatever happens in there, I need you to promise me something. If things go bad, you run. You get out and you call the police. Don't try to be a hero. That's rich coming from the janitor who's about to confront a cyber terrorist with a mop handle. I'm serious. You have a company to rebuild. Thousands of employees depending on you. You're not just anything, Catherine interrupted. You're the man who saved my company, who's risking everything for someone who never even knew your name until tonight. So no, Jack Sullivan, I won't promise to run. We finish this together. Jack studied her face in the dim light, then nodded. Together, then. They pushed open the door as quietly as possible. The hallway carpet muffled their footsteps as they moved toward Catherine's office. Through the glass walls, they could see a figure hunched over her computer, typing rapidly. But something was wrong. The build was wrong. The hair color was wrong. It wasn't Miguel Santos. It was Jennifer Walsh, Catherine's executive assistant. Catherine gasped and Jennifer's head snapped up. The young woman's face was streaked with tears, her hands shaking as they hovered over the keyboard. "I'm sorry," Jennifer said, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I didn't have a choice." "Jennifer." Catherine stepped into the office, confusion replacing fear. "What are you doing?" "They have my father," Jennifer sobbed. "He's in federal prison for embezzlement, but he didn't do it. His boss framed him, and I could never prove it. But Richard Black said he could. He said he had evidence that could free my dad. All I had to do was give him access to your systems." Jack moved carefully around the desk, keeping his distance, but positioning himself between Jennifer and the computer. "Jennifer, listen to me. Whatever you've done, we can fix it. But you need to step away from that computer right now." "I can't," Jennifer wailed. "If I don't finish this, they'll make sure my father dies in prison. He's sick, he has cancer. He only has 2 years left to live. Please, I just wanted him to die a free man." Catherine felt the anger drain out of her, replaced by something more complex. She saw herself in Jennifer's desperate choice, remembered her own mother dying alone while she chose work over family. "Jennifer," Catherine said softly, "who is Miguel Santos? Is he real?" Jennifer nodded miserably. "He's one of Black's men, a professional hacker. He's been working here for a month, learning the systems, planting back doors. But he's not here tonight. That was a lie to draw you away from the real threat." "Which is you," Jack said, but his voice held no accusation, only sadness. "I never wanted this," Jennifer continued. "You've been so good to me, Mrs. Titan. You gave me a chance when no one else would hire someone whose father was in federal prison. You mentored me, trusted me, and I betrayed you." Her. The computer beeped. A progress bar appeared on screen. "Data transfer 67% complete." "Jennifer, we can help your father," Catherine said urgently. "But not like this. If you do this, you become a criminal too. You think your father wants his freedom if it means his daughter goes to prison." Jennifer's hands trembled over the keyboard. "You don't understand. The evidence Black has, it's real. I've seen it. Documents proving my father's boss moved money through my dad's accounts without his knowledge. Security footage of the boss accessing my father's computer after hours. It would clear him completely." "Then we'll get it another way," Jack said. "Jennifer, I lost my wife 3 years ago. I would have done anything, paid any price, made any deal to save her. But she wouldn't have wanted me to destroy innocent people to do it. Your father wouldn't want this either." Jennifer looked between them, tears streaming down her face. The progress bar read 73%. "Black promised to destroy the evidence if I don't complete this," she whispered. Catherine made a decision that would have seemed impossible 6 hours ago. "Then we'll get it first. Jack, can David track Black's systems from here?" Jack nodded slowly. "If we can get into Apex servers, maybe. But we'd need administrative access." "Jennifer," Catherine said, "you've been talking to Black, working with him. Do you have any access to his systems?" Jennifer bit her lip. "He gave me a login to upload the stolen data, but it's probably monitored." "David can work with that," Jack said, already pulling out his phone. "David, we need you to do something. Can you create a reverse tunnel through an upload connection?" "Yes, I know it's dangerous." "No, we don't have a choice." The progress bar hit 78%. "Jennifer," Catherine stepped closer, "I'm going to make you a deal. Stop the transfer now. Help us get evidence against Black, and I'll personally hire the best lawyers in the country to reopen your father's case. We'll get him out the right way, the legal way, and you'll still have a job here if you want it." Jennifer's eyes widened. "After what I've done, you'd still trust me?" "Everyone deserves a second chance," Catherine said, and she thought of Jack. Brilliant engineer turned janitor, still fighting, despite everything he'd lost. "But only if you stop this now." Jennifer's fingers moved to the keyboard. The progress bar read 82%. She pressed 3 keys. The transfer stopped. Then she quickly typed a series of commands and the screen changed to show a remote desktop connection to Apex Corporation servers. "I'm in," she whispered. "What do you need?" Jack took over his fingers, flying across the keyboard while talking to David through the phone. "We need everything. Financial records, emails, security footage, especially anything about Jennifer's father and the embezzlement case." While Jack worked, Catherine put her hand on Jennifer's shoulder. The younger woman was shaking. "My father is going to be so disappointed in me," Jennifer said quietly. "No," Catherine replied firmly. "He's going to be proud that when it mattered most, you made the right choice." The office door burst open. A man in a janitor's uniform stood there, but this one Catherine didn't recognize. He was young, perhaps 30, with cold eyes and a cruel smile. In his hand was a gun. "Miguel Santos, I presume," Catherine said, surprised by how calm her own voice sounded. "Step away from the computer," Miguel ordered. "Now." Jack slowly raised his hands and stepped back. But Catherine noticed he'd palmed a flash drive, presumably with whatever data he'd managed to download. "It's over," Miguel continued. "Jennifer, complete the transfer, or I'll kill them both." Jennifer looked terrified. "Mr. Black said no one would get hurt." Miguel laughed. "Mr. Black says a lot of things. Now finish the job." "No," Jennifer said, her voice small but determined. Miguel pointed the gun at Jack. "I'll start with the janitor. No one will miss him." "I will," Catherine said, stepping in front of Jack. "I'll miss him. His daughter will miss him. The hundreds of people whose offices he cleans, who he helps every single day without recognition or thanks, they'll miss him. You have no idea who you're threatening." "Touching," Miguel sneered, "but meaningless. Move or I'll shoot you both." That's when the lights went out again. David, monitoring from the basement, had cut the power to the executive floor. In the darkness, chaos erupted. Catherine heard the gunfire, heard glass shatter, heard bodies colliding. She dropped to the floor, crawling behind her desk. Someone crashed into the bookshelf, sending years of awards and photos cascading down. The emergency lights kicked in a second later, casting everything in that eerie red glow. Miguel was on the ground, Jack's mop handle across his throat. The gun had skittered across the floor, coming to rest near Catherine's feet. She grabbed it, though she'd never held one before. Jack and Miguel struggled, rolling across the broken glass from the shattered awards. Both men were bleeding from multiple cuts. Miguel was younger, stronger, but Jack fought with the desperation of a father who'd promised to come home to his daughter. Miguel managed to throw Jack off and scrambled to his feet. He reached for something in his pocket, another weapon perhaps, but Jennifer hit him from behind with Catherine's heavy crystal paperweight, a gift from the governor for entrepreneurial excellence. Miguel crumpled to the floor unconscious. For a moment, no one moved. Then Jack slowly got to his feet, glass crunching under his work boots. His uniform was torn and bloody, but he was alive. "Everyone okay?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, they heard sirens. Lots of them getting closer. "I called them," David's voice came from Catherine's computer speaker. "Right after I cut the lights. Also, I've downloaded everything from Apex's servers. You're going to want to see this, Mrs. Titan. Richard Black hasn't just been conducting corporate espionage. He's been doing it to dozens of companies. There's enough evidence here to put him away for life." Catherine looked around her destroyed office. At Jennifer, crying but free from Black's manipulation. At Miguel Santos, unconscious and soon to be arrested. And at Jack Sullivan, the invisible janitor who'd saved everything. "Jennifer," Catherine said, "can you show the police what they need to see when they get here?" Jennifer nodded, wiping her tears. "Yes, I'll tell them everything." Catherine turned to Jack. "Come on. There's something I need to show you." She led him to a small conference room down the hall, away from the destruction. Inside was a wall of photos, the history of Titan Industries, from its founding to the present. "This was my mother," Catherine said, pointing to a photo of a stern-looking woman with kind eyes. "Eleanor Titan. She worked as a seamstress in a factory her whole life. Saved every penny to send me to college. I built this company for her to prove that her sacrifice meant something." Jack studied the photo. "She would be proud of you." "Would she?" Catherine asked. "I missed her death for a business deal. I've missed everything that mattered for this company. Birthday parties, holidays, relationships. All for what? So someone like Richard Black could try to steal it." "No," Jack said firmly. "So thousands of people could have jobs. so innovation could happen, so a janitor's daughter could grow up in a city where anything is possible if you work hard enough. Your mother would understand that. The police arrived, then filling the office with uniforms and questions. EMTs treated Jack's cuts while he gave his statement. Jennifer was arrested, but would likely get a deal for cooperating. Miguel Santos was taken away in handcuffs, still unconscious. As dawn broke over Pittsburgh painting, The Three Rivers Gold, Catherine stood in her ruined office with Detective Maria Rodriguez. "We'll need you to come to the station for a full statement," the detective said. "But from what we've seen so far, you've uncovered one of the largest corporate espionage rings in the country. Richard Black and at least a dozen others will be arrested today." "What about Jennifer's father?" Catherine asked. "William Walsh." The detective pulled up something on her tablet. "According to the files your CTO provided, there's clear evidence he was framed. The district attorney is already talking about an emergency motion for release." Catherine felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Something good had come from this nightmare after all. After the police left, Catherine found Jack in the break room drinking coffee from a paper cup. He'd changed into a spare janitor uniform from his locker, though bandages were visible through the fabric. "You should go to the hospital," she said. "Those cuts need proper treatment." "I will," Jack replied. "But first I need to pick up Emma from the police station. She's probably scared out of her mind." "I'll drive you," Catherine offered. Jack looked surprised. "You don't have to do that." "Yes, I do. Jack, I need to ask you something. I need a new head of security. Not just cybersecurity, but all of it. Physical, digital personnel, vetting everything. The board will approve any salary I recommend. Would you consider it?" Jack was quiet for a long moment. "I'm honored truly, but I need to think about Emma. Being head of security means long hours travel, being on call 24/7. I can't be an absent father." "I won't make that choice," Catherine nodded, understanding but disappointed. Then an idea struck her. "What if we did it differently? What if you worked from 9 to 3 so you could drop Emma off at school and pick her up? You could have a team to handle nights and weekends. And we could set up a workspace where Emma could do her homework after school if needed. We have a daycare on the third floor for employees' kids." Jack's eyes widened. "You'd restructure the entire security department for me?" "I'd restructure it for Emma," Catherine corrected, "and for every other single parent who's had to choose between career and family. Jack, what you did tonight, it wasn't just about technical skills. You saw what everyone else missed because you see the building, the people, the company from a different angle. We need that perspective." "I also want to keep my janitor shifts," Jack said suddenly. Catherine blinked. "What? 2 evenings a week I still want to clean offices. It keeps me grounded, connected to the real work of this building. And it would show every employee that no job is beneath anyone, that we all contribute to this company's success." Catherine found herself smiling, really smiling for the first time in years. "You know what, that's perfect. The head of security who also empties trash cans. The board will think I've lost my mind." "Have you?" Jack asked with a slight grin. "Maybe, but I've found something better. I've found clarity about what actually matters." Jack extended his hand. "Then you've got a deal, Catherine. But I have conditions. First, a college fund for Emma as part of the compensation package. Second, we hire Tom Bradley as part of the security team. The man's a Marine veteran living on a security guard's pension. He deserves better. And third, Jennifer Walsh gets a second chance. She made a terrible decision for the right reasons. With proper guidance, she could be an asset." Catherine shook his hand. "All agreed. Anything else?" "One more thing. We start a program for employees who've had career interruptions, parents who left work for family people, who got laid off and couldn't get back, in veterans who struggle to translate military skills to corporate speak. Give them a chance to prove themselves. Like someone gave you a chance by hiring you as a janitor." "Exactly. Though I don't think you meant it as a chance at the time." Catherine laughed. "No, I just needed someone to clean the offices. I had no idea I was hiring the man who would save my company." They left the building together as the morning shift began to arrive. Word had somehow already spread, and employees gathered in the lobby applauding as Catherine and Jack walked through. But Jack noticed they weren't just applauding Catherine. They were applauding him too. The invisible janitor had become visible at last. At the police station, Emma ran into Jack's arms, burying her face in his chest. Daddy, I was so scared. Mrs. Bradley said you were fighting bad guys like a superhero. Jack held her tight. Not a superhero, sweetheart. Just your dad doing what needed to be done. Emma pulled back and looked at him seriously. Did you help anyone today, Daddy? Jack glanced at Catherine, who was watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read. Yes, Emma. I helped someone very important. Good, Emma said firmly. That's what you're supposed to do. As they walked to Catherine's car, Emma slipped her small hand into Catherine's. Are you Daddy's friend? The little girl asked. Catherine looked down at the child who looked so much like the photo Jack carried in his wallet, the wife he'd lost, but still loved. Yes, Catherine said softly. I'm your daddy's friend, and I'd like to be yours too if that's okay. Emma considered this seriously. Do you like grilled cheese sandwiches? I don't know. I haven't had one in years. Emma looked shocked. Then you have to come have lunch with us. Daddy makes the best grilled cheese in the whole world. Jack looked embarrassed. Emma, Mrs. Titan is very busy. It's Saturday, Catherine interrupted, and I can't think of anything I'd rather do than have the best grilled cheese in the world. As they drove through Pittsburgh, the city waking up around them, Catherine realized something had fundamentally changed. It wasn't just that her company had been saved or that Richard Black would face justice. It was that for the first time in 15 years, she didn't feel alone. In the back seat, Emma was chattering about her drawings, her teacher, her favorite books. Jack was half turned in his seat, listening with the patience of a devoted father. And Catherine, driving them to a small apartment for grilled cheese sandwiches instead of to her empty mansion, felt something she hadn't experienced since her mother died. She felt like she was going home. 3 months had passed since the night that changed everything. The November snow had melted into December slush, then frozen into January ice, and now February brought a different kind of cold to Pittsburgh, the kind that settled into your bones and made the old steel bridges groan with memory. Jack Sullivan stood in his new office on the 10th floor of Titan Industries, looking out at the city below. The office was modest by executive standards, which is exactly how he wanted it. No mahogany desk or leather chairs, just functional furniture, and walls covered with security monitors and Emma's drawings. A photo of Mary sat on his desk next to Emma's school picture, and surprisingly, a new addition, a photo from the company holiday party showing him Emma and Catherine around a table laughing at something Tom Bradley had said. The door opened and David Kim walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Morning, boss, David said, though the title still felt strange when applied to the former janitor. Just Jack is fine, David. You know that. The board meeting is in an hour. David continued, handing Jack a coffee. Catherine wants us both there. Apparently there's news about the Apex situation. Jack nodded. The investigation into Richard Black and Apex Corporation had expanded far beyond what anyone had imagined. The FBI had uncovered a network of corporate espionage affecting dozens of companies across the country. Black himself had been arrested 6 weeks ago, denied bail, and was facing federal charges that could put him away for 30 years. But that wasn't what weighed on Jack's mind this morning. David, has Jennifer arrived yet? She's been here since 6, David replied, still trying to prove herself even though everyone's forgiven her. Well, almost everyone. Jennifer Walsh had been given probation and community service instead of jail time, thanks to her cooperation and Catherine's testimony on her behalf. Her father had been released from federal prison after the evidence of his innocence was presented to a judge. Catherine had kept her promise, hiring the best lawyers, and even offering Jennifer her job back, though in a different capacity. Now Jennifer worked in the legal department, helping to identify and protect against corporate espionage. She arrived first and left last every day, determined to earn back the trust she'd broken. I'll talk to her before the meeting, Jack said. She needs to stop punishing herself. As David left, Jack's phone buzzed. A text from Emma's teacher. Mr. Sullivan, Emma did something remarkable in class today. She stood up to a bully who was picking on another student. She said her dad taught her that invisible people need champions. You're raising a wonderful young woman. Jack smiled, warmth spreading through his chest. He was about to reply when Catherine appeared in his doorway. Ready for the board meeting? She asked, but something in her expression seemed off. What's wrong? Catherine stepped inside and closed the door. Richard Black wants to make a deal. Full confession names of everyone involved, detailed records of all corporate attacks over the past 5 years. In exchange, he wants minimum security prison and the possibility of parole in 10 years. Jack set down his coffee. That's not enough time for what he's done. No, but his lawyers are good. Without his cooperation, trials could drag on for years. Other companies might never recover their stolen data. And there's something else. Catherine paused, clearly uncomfortable. He has information about my mother. Your mother? Apparently 15 years ago, when I was starting this company, Black tried to recruit me for Apex. When I refused, he had me investigated. He knows things about my mother's death, about the days leading up to it. Messages she tried to send me that were blocked by a secretary. I had back then a secretary who was being paid by Black to isolate me, to make me miss important moments, so I'd be more vulnerable, more alone. Jack stood up, moving around the desk. Catherine, I'm so sorry. He's offering to give me everything. Every blocked message, voicemail, even a video my mother recorded for me from her hospital bed. But only if I support his plea deal. The weight of the decision hung between them. Jack could see the pain in Catherine's eyes, the desperate need to hear her mother's final words, warring with the desire for justice. What do you want to do? He asked gently. I don't know. That's why I'm here. You lost Mary. You know what it's like to miss those final moments. What would you do? Jack thought for a long moment. I'd remember that my mother wouldn't want me to compromise my principles for her memory. And I'd recognize that Black is still manipulating you, still trying to control you through emotional leverage. Catherine nodded slowly. You're right. But those messages, we'll find another way to get them. Jennifer's been developing new data recovery protocols. David's been tracing old server backups. We don't need Black's cooperation. Before Catherine could respond, her phone rang. It was Margaret Stone calling from the lobby. Catherine, you need to come down here. Now. There's someone here demanding to see you and Jack. She says she's Richard Black's daughter. They exchanged glances and headed for the elevator. In the lobby, they found a young woman, perhaps 25, with tired eyes and Black's sharp features. She was holding a banker's box. Ms. Titan, Mr. Sullivan, I'm Rebecca Black. I know you have no reason to listen to me, but please, I need just 5 minutes of your time. Catherine's expression hardened, but Jack touched her arm lightly. 5 minutes, he said. They led Rebecca to a small conference room. She set the box on the table with shaking hands. I've been estranged from my father for 3 years, Rebecca began, ever since I found out what he really did for a living. But when he was arrested, his lawyer contacted me about his personal effects. I found these. She opened the box, revealing dozens of DVDs, USB drives, and file folders. It's everything he ever stole, everyone he ever hurt, including you, Ms. Titan. Including the messages from your mother. I've already given copies to the FBI, but I thought you should have these personally. Catherine's hands trembled as she picked up a DVD labeled Eleanor Titan Final Messages. Why? Catherine asked, her voice barely a whisper. Why would you do this? Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. Because someone needs to break the cycle. My father destroyed people because his father taught him that winning was everything, that compassion was weakness. I won't let that legacy continue. I'm going to law school next year. I want to help the people my father hurt. That's admirable, Jack said. But it won't be easy. People will judge you for your father's crimes. Rebecca nodded. I know, but someone recently taught me that invisible people need champions. Even the invisible daughter of a corporate criminal. Jack recognized the phrase immediately. You know Emma. My daughter. Rebecca smiled slightly. I volunteer at her school's after-school program. She doesn't know who I am, who my father is. But last week, she saw me sitting alone crying after the news broke about my dad. She came over and gave me a drawing she'd made. It was a picture of a sunrise. She said her dad taught her that even the darkest night ends with a sunrise. Catherine looked at Jack with something like wonder. His 7-year-old daughter had unknowingly comforted the daughter of their enemy. Rebecca, Catherine said suddenly, would you consider an internship at Titan Industries? In our legal department, we could use someone who understands how corporate espionage works from the inside. Rebecca's eyes widened. After what my father did to you, you'd trust me. I've learned recently that everyone deserves a second chance, Catherine replied, glancing at Jack. Besides, you're not your father. You're choosing to be better. After Rebecca left promising to consider the internship offer, Catherine and Jack sat alone with the box of recovered materials. Catherine held the DVD but didn't move to play it. Are you okay? Jack asked. I will be, but not yet. Not today. Today we have a board meeting to get through. The boardroom was full when they arrived. 12 members of Titan Industries' board of directors, all waiting to hear about the recovery efforts and the plans moving forward. Margaret Stone was already there. Spreadsheets ready showing that despite everything the company had not only survived, but was beginning to thrive again. Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine began. 3 months ago, we nearly lost everything. But thanks to the extraordinary efforts of people many of you have never noticed, we survived. Our janitor became our savior. Our security guard became our defender. Our assistant, despite her mistakes, became our conscience. Today, I want to talk about the future of Titan Industries, but more importantly, about the kind of company we want to be. She clicked a remote and a presentation appeared on the screen behind her. I'm proposing a radical restructuring, not of our business model, but of our values. The Second Chances Initiative will be expanded. We'll actively recruit people who've been overlooked by the traditional hiring process. Single parents who need flexible schedules. Veterans who struggle with the transition to civilian life. Former convicts who've served their time and need a fresh start. People whose careers were interrupted by illness, family obligations, or economic downturns. One of the board members, Harold Morrison, frowned. Catherine, while this is admirable, what about the bottom line? We have shareholders to consider. Jack stood up. Mr. Morrison, 3 months ago, I was invisible to everyone in this room. I cleaned your offices, emptied your trash, made sure you had a pleasant working environment. You never knew my name, never knew I had a degree in computer science, never knew I designed security systems for Fortune 500 companies. How much talent, how much potential are we wasting by only looking at traditional candidates? Tom Bradley, who was attending as the new deputy head of security, spoke up. I served 2 tours in Vietnam, came back with skills in logistics, personnel management, crisis response. But for 40 years, I was just a security guard because my resume didn't look right. How many veterans are we overlooking? Jennifer Walsh, who had been invited to present on the new anti-espionage protocols, added quietly, I made a terrible mistake, but Ms. Titan gave me a second chance. And now I'm developing systems that will protect not just Titan Industries, but dozens of other companies from what happened to us. Redemption creates loyalty you can't buy. The board debated for 2 hours. In the end, the vote was narrow but positive. The Second Chances Initiative would move forward. As the meeting ended, Harold Morrison approached Jack. Mr. Sullivan, I owe you an apology. You're right. I never saw you before, and that was my loss. No apology needed, Mr. Morrison. Just promise me you'll see the next invisible person who crosses your path. That afternoon, Jack was back in his office when Tom Bradley knocked. Got a minute, Jack? Always for you, Tom. What's on your mind? Tom sat down heavily. It's about Emma. Martha and I have been talking. We never had kids of our own, you know. And Emma, well, she's special. We want you to know that if anything ever happens to you, we'd be honored to take care of her. Jack felt his throat tighten. Tom, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know she's got people looking out for her. She's got family beyond blood. That evening, as Jack prepared to leave at his usual time to pick up Emma from school, Catherine appeared in his doorway. Want company for the pickup run? It had become something of a tradition. 3 times a week, Catherine would join Jack for the school pickup, and they'd all have dinner together. Sometimes at Jack's modest apartment, sometimes at Catherine's mansion, which had slowly become less empty and more like a home. Emma was waiting at the school gate, bouncing with excitement. Daddy, Miss Catherine, guess what? I got picked for the science fair. I'm going to do a project on cybersecurity. Jack laughed. Cybersecurity? That's a big topic for 2nd grade. Miss Rebecca's going to help me. She knows all about computers and bad guys trying to steal information. Catherine and Jack exchanged glances. Rebecca Black had started volunteering more at the school, finding peace in helping children learn. As they drove home, Emma chattering about her science project, Jack's phone rang. It was the district attorney. Mr. Sullivan, I thought you should know. Richard Black took a different deal. Life in prison, no parole in exchange for protection from other inmates he testified against. He also insisted that all recovered materials be returned to their rightful owners immediately. Why the change? Jack asked. His daughter visited him yesterday. Whatever she said, it changed his mind. He said something about breaking cycles and sunrise after darkness. Jack looked at Emma in the rearview mirror, this little girl whose kindness had rippled out in ways she'd never know. That night after Emma was asleep, Jack and Catherine sat on his small balcony, despite the February cold wrapped in blankets, and drinking hot chocolate. You know what today is? Catherine asked. Friday. It's exactly 3 months since you saved my company. Since you saved me. Jack shook his head. You saved yourself. I just helped. No, Catherine said firmly. You did more than help. You showed me what I'd lost sight of. That success means nothing without connection. That power means nothing without purpose. That being visible in the business world means nothing if you're invisible to the people who matter. She pulled out a small wrapped package. This is for you. Inside was a simple keychain with 2 keys. One was labeled Titan Industries Executive Entrance. The other was labeled Janitor's Closet Floor 3. So you never forget where you came from, Catherine explained, and never stop being both the executive and the janitor, the visible and the invisible. Jack smiled, attaching the keys to his key ring alongside his apartment key and Emma's school emergency contact tag. Catherine, can I ask you something? Anything. What was on your mother's DVD? Catherine was quiet for a long moment. She told me she was proud of me, that she understood why I wasn't there, that she wanted me to find love, to have a family, to remember that success is measured in relationships, not receipts. She paused. She also said that someday someone unexpected would come into my life and teach me what really matters. She said I should let them in. Jack reached over and took her hand. Eleanor sounds like a wise woman. She was. I just wish I'd listened sooner. You're listening now. That's what matters. As the night grew colder, they moved inside. Catherine helped Jack clean up the dinner dishes, while CNN played in the background, reporting on the expanding federal investigation into corporate espionage. Richard Black's empire was crumbling, but from its ashes, something better was rising. The next morning, Saturday, brought an unexpected visitor to Jack's apartment. Miguel Santos stood in the hallway, accompanied by 2 federal marshals. 5 minutes, one of the marshals said. That's all the judge approved. Miguel looked different. Prison had aged him, but there was something else too, a weariness that went beyond physical exhaustion. Mr. Sullivan, Miguel began, his accent thick with emotion. I came to apologize and to warn you. Warn me? Black wasn't the top. There are others, international players, who see what you and Miss Titan have built as a threat. Your Second Chances program is inspiring other companies to change, to look beyond traditional hiring. This threatens people who profit from keeping others down. Why tell me this? Miguel looked at the floor. I have a daughter too, in Mexico. I haven't seen her in 5 years. I took Black's money to try to build a better life for her, but all I built was shame. When I heard about what your daughter did comforting Rebecca Black, I realized I'd become the monster in someone else's story. I don't want that for my child. What's your daughter's name? Sophia? She's 9. Jack made a decision that would have seemed impossible 3 months ago. When you get out, come see me. The Second Chances program might have room for someone who understands security from the criminal side. Miguel's eyes widened. After what I did, you would consider that everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst day. But Miguel, it won't be easy. You'll have to earn trust every single day. I understand. Thank you. As the marshals led Miguel away, Emma appeared in her pajamas. Daddy, who was that man? Someone who made bad choices, but wants to make better ones. Like Ms. Jennifer. Yes, sweetheart, like Jennifer. Emma thought about this. Good. Everyone should get to try again. That afternoon, Titan Industries held its first Second Chances job fair. The convention center was packed with people society had written off. Veterans with PTSD, former inmates with college degrees, earned behind bars, single parents who'd been out of the workforce for years, recovering addicts with brilliant minds but troubled pasts. Jack walked through the crowd, stopping to talk with applicants, hearing their stories. Each one reminded him of himself 3 years ago, qualified but discarded, talented but invisible. At one booth, he found a woman in her 50s filling out an application with shaking hands. "Can I help?" Jack offered. She looked up embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I haven't filled out a job application in 20 years. I was a software developer, but I left to take care of my husband when he got ALS. He passed last year, and now nobody wants to hire someone my age who's been out of the field for so long." Jack sat down beside her. "What's your name?" "Carol Martinez." "Carol, I'm Jack Sullivan. 3 years ago, I was in your exact position. Lost my wife to cancer. Lost my career in tech, ended up mopping floors just to pay the bills. Today, I run the security division of this company. Not because I'm special, but because someone finally saw me." Carol's eyes filled with tears. "You mean there's really hope?" "There's more than hope. There's a guarantee. If you're willing to work hard and learn, we'll train you on current systems. Your experience isn't outdated, it's foundational. You understand things that can't be taught, only lived." By the end of the day, Titan Industries had hired 47 new employees from backgrounds that would have disqualified them anywhere else. Each one would start in 2 weeks after completing an orientation program designed by Jennifer Walsh, who understood better than anyone the importance of second chances. That evening, Catherine hosted a dinner at her mansion for the core team that had saved the company. Jack and Emma Tom and Martha Bradley, David Kim, Margaret Stone, Jennifer Walsh, and her father William, and surprisingly, Rebecca Black. As they sat around Catherine's massive dining table, Emma stood up with her juice box raised. "I want to make a toast," she announced. "That's what adults do at fancy dinners, right?" Everyone smiled and raised their glasses. "To invisible people becoming visible," Emma declared, "and to my daddy who shows everyone that janitors can be heroes." "To second chances," Jennifer added quietly. "To family, both blood and chosen." Tom Bradley set his arm around Martha. "To learning to see what matters," Catherine concluded. As they clinked glasses, Jack looked around the table. 6 months ago, most of these people didn't know each other existed. Now they were family bonded by crisis, but held together by something stronger. The knowledge that everyone has value, everyone has potential, and everyone deserves to be seen. After dinner, as the guests mingled, Catherine pulled Jack aside to the library. "I never thanked you properly," she said. "You've thanked me 100 times. No, I mean really thanked you. Not for saving the company, but for saving me from becoming someone my mother wouldn't recognize. Someone so focused on success that I couldn't see the people right in front of me." Jack was about to respond when Emma burst into the library. "Daddy, Miss Catherine, come quick, it's snowing." They followed her outside where fat snowflakes were falling, transforming the February evening into something magical. Emma danced in the snow, catching flakes on her tongue. "Make a wish," she called out. "Mom always said that if you catch a snowflake on your tongue and make a wish, it comes true." Jack and Catherine stood watching her, this little girl who'd lost her mother, but never lost her joy, who'd seen her father fall from grace, but never stopped believing he was a hero. "What did you wish for?" Catherine asked Jack quietly. "That Emma grows up in a world where no one is invisible," Jack replied. "What about you?" Catherine looked at him, then at Emma, then at their friends visible through the windows laughing and talking in her once empty mansion. "I wish that this moment, this family we've built, this second chance we've all been given, never ends." Emma ran over and grabbed both their hands, pulling them into the snow. "Come on, we have to make snow angels, all three of us." As they lay in the snow, making angels and laughing, while their friends watched from the warmth inside, Jack thought about Mary, about how she would have loved this moment. He thought about the journey from that dark Friday night to this snowy Saturday evening. He thought about visibility and invisibility, about success and failure, about the janitor he'd been and the man he was becoming. But mostly he thought about hope. Hope that had entered his life in the most unexpected way, through a disaster that became a salvation, through a CEO who learned to see through a company that learned to value what truly mattered. The snow continued to fall on Pittsburgh, on its bridges and buildings, on its old steel bones and new dreams. And in one mansion on the hill, 3 people made snow angels, while their chosen family watched proof that sometimes the best things in life come from the worst moments that heroes wear. janitor uniforms, and that being invisible is only temporary if someone takes the time to truly look. As they stood up covered in snow, Emma looked at the three angels they'd made and smiled. "Look," she said, pointing at the impressions in the snow. "We're all the same size when we're angels." Jack and Catherine exchanged glances over Emma's head, both understanding that this 7-year-old had just expressed what Titan Industries was trying to become: a place where everyone was equal, everyone was valued, and everyone had wings. They just needed help learning to spread. "Come on," Catherine said, putting her arms around both of them. "Let's go inside. We have a family waiting for us." As they walked back to the house, Emma between them, each holding one of her hands, the snow erased their footprints behind them. But the path forward was clear, lit by windows full of warmth and laughter, leading to a future none of them could have imagined when a janitor first saved an empire with nothing but knowledge, courage, and the unshakable belief that invisible people are often the strongest of all. The story of Titan Industries' salvation would be told in business schools for years to come. But the real story, the one that mattered, was simpler. A widowed janitor, a lonely CEO, and a little girl who believed in second chances had found each other in the darkness and together had learned to see the light. In Pittsburgh that night, as snow continued to fall and three angels slowly disappeared under fresh powder, a new chapter was beginning. Not just for a company, but for everyone who'd ever felt unseen, unvalued, or forgotten. The empire had been saved, but more importantly, so had the souls of everyone who'd fought to save it. And somewhere in heaven, Mary Sullivan and Eleanor Titan were smiling, knowing their loved ones had finally found what they'd been searching for. Not success, not wealth, not power, but something far more valuable. They'd found home.